Hello, welcome to episode 2.
Here's our blanket. Excellent.
An asymmetrical twirl. Dropping and sinking up.
Notice how
So just notice. Joining us for the second episode of next week. Namaste. Hello, and welcome to episode 75 of Namaste Yoga. I forgot to start last week's episode with a letter from one of our viewers, so we'll get back on track with that. Thank you so much for all of you who have sent in your letters to me. You can email me at info@melissawest.com. And people are sending in letters about how Namaste Yoga has affected them in their lives and how it's worked into their lives. And it's just been amazing to hear about what a difference Namaste Yoga is making in people's lives. And so I want to share these with you. This is from Jeff, and he's in California. And he says, I feel like Namaste Yoga has been instrumental in improving the quality of my life and assisting me on my journey. Before I started, I would regularly take sleeping pills, but since the first week of doing yoga, I haven't touched a pill in almost 8 weeks. This is one of the many benefits I have received from tuning into your shows. Thank you so much, from Jeff. So thank you, Jeff. We appreciate that. Very much, and it's amazing. The benefits of yoga are just so far-reaching, and everybody is going to experience the benefits differently, and so it's so great to hear from all of you. The other thing that I wanted to do, and this is something that I've been wanting to do on my blog for a long time, is to write recommendations for certain books. And I had one of our viewers, Rondell, email me this morning and ask me to say that he really enjoyed some of the books that I share with you on Namaste Yoga, and if I had any books that I would like to recommend to him. And this really spoke to me because I think there are lots of fantastic books out there. This is a passion of mine. And so I also thought I would start each week by recommending a book if I felt so inspired. And based on what's going on in the world right now with the earthquakes in Japan and New Zealand and a lot of the unrest in the world right now, I wanted to recommend a book that was before its time when it was first published only a few years ago, called Waking the Global Heart by Anodea Judith. So this is a fantastic book. I highly recommend it. She talks about how we're shifting on a cultural level from the third chakra, the love of power, to the fourth chakra, the power of love. And she actually speaks to some of the events that are happening now before they happened. So I highly recommend this book. Absolutely fantastic. You can see that it's very well loved. And it's actually one that I want to go back and reread now a few years later. So I highly recommend Anodea Judith, Waking the Global Heart, and also any of her other books. She writes on the chakras, but this one was just so great. It's her most recent one because she speaks about the chakras on a cultural level, which really spoke to me as somebody who has a PhD in cultural studies. So check her out. You'll love that book. Okay, we're going to start today's class sitting. So get whatever props you need to support you in sitting. You may choose to sit on a chair. Just look after your own body. So I'm going to sit up on a block today. I spent all day yesterday leading a silent retreat, and so I'm going to give my body a little break this morning by making sitting a little easier for me, and I know that you'll look after your own bodies as well. We're going to start sitting. So just close your eyes, lengthen your spine up, and begin by focusing in on your own breath. Today's class is about suffering, and not how to create more suffering, but the causes of suffering. So in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, he calls suffering, the Sanskrit for suffering is dukkha, and he refers to the causes of suffering as kleshas. So there are 5 causes of suffering according to Patanjali. The mental and emotional causes of suffering are unawareness, egotism, clinging to past pleasure, clinging to past pain, and the fear of death. So Kleshas actually literally translates to afflictions of the mind. And we started to foreshadow this a little bit last week when we talked about how Patanjali said we don't always see the world clearly, and we tend to see things the way we would like them to be, that the influence of our own preferences and assumptions and biases tend to cloud our clear view, which equals false perception. And so this really spoke to the Kleshas. According to yoga philosophy, the true nature of all beings is perfect, immortal, unchanging, all one permeating self. Yet often we don't experience our own potential and believe we are without peace, love, and perfection. This creates a constant state of striving, unease, and desire for fulfillment. Our true self is perfect, unbounded, infinite satisfaction. Yet, when it interpreted through our mind, is experienced as dissatisfaction, inadequacy, and lack. Patanjali says there are 5 kinds of suffering. The first kind of suffering is avidya. And because of too much busyness in our heart-mind, this distracts our attention and neglects our pure light of awareness. So it's lack of knowledge that prevents us from understanding something, or lack of awareness and ignorance. It's really a confusion about our reality. And all the other kleshas stem from this. And it literally speaks about being in the dark and forgetting to be in the light. The second form of suffering is called asmita, and it's egoness or oneness. Sorry, not oneness, it's a lack of oneness. It's this feeling of I amness, this over-identification with ourselves and our individual being. So it causes us to believe that our being is limited by things like our name, our occupation, our likes, our dislikes, our titles. And our ego likes control. So when that control is threatened, asmita arises to defend it. And it's a distorted vision of ourselves. Either we experience ourselves as puffed up, so a conceit, or the other end of the spectrum, egoism, can also be self-doubt and insecurity. The other forms of suffering are raja, clinging to past pleasure, or avoiding pain. And then the final form of suffering comes from the fear of death, and we'll look at that in Savasana. So take a deep breath in and let it fall out of your mouth. And we'll begin today by practicing skull shining breath, Kapalabhati. So it's said that Nikolai Bachman says that we can avoid the kleshas by practicing purification practices and cleansing our bodies so that we are more in tune with our true light of inner awareness rather than the mind's distorted version of things. And so we're going to start with Kapalabhati, skull shining breath. So the way that Kapalabhati works is that it's an active exhalation and a passive inhalation. You'll breathe out strongly through your nose and draw your navel back towards your spine, and then you'll relax your belly and let the inhale come in passively. So place your hands on your belly and take a deep breath in and breathe out strongly through your nose, drawing your belly back. Start slowly. Take a deep breath in. Breathe out fully. Breathe in part way. And suspend your breath. And then exhale when the need to breathe out is great. So let's try that again. We're going to try that. If you're just learning, this is one of those fake it till you make it breaths. Just keep trying and you will get it. And do it more slowly if you're just learning. And now we can experiment with speeding this up and slowing it down and see what feels better in your body. So look at that. The Kapalabhati, it stimulates your fire, and it's already drying me out. Okay, so let's take a deep breath in. Here we go. Breathe in fully. Breathe out fully. Breathe in part way. Suspend your breath. And exhale when the need is great. So what I think Kapalabhati really does is called skull shining breath, and you can really feel it. It's great for clearing out your sinuses. You can really feel how it clears it out. And that clearing out of the toxins and of all the cobwebs in our head allows us to see things as they truly are. So to not have false perception. So let's try that one more time as a way of clearing to help to build our awareness. Take a deep breath in. Here we go. Big breath in. Breathe out fully. Breathe in part way and hold. And as always, breathe out when the need is great. So that helps us to clear away the impurities so that we can see things as they truly are and help avoid that first cause of suffering, avidya. Okay, well, you are going to need some blocks today, so if you have blocks, keep them close by. We will be using them later. And then let's come onto all fours. And just warm up your spine a little bit first by doing cat pose. So in cat pose, we can already begin to identify with two of the causes of suffering. That is clinging to pleasure or having an aversion to pain. So when we tune in here, if things aren't as they were the last time we did this pose, we'll be remembering a time when it used to be, quote, better. Or we might be avoiding pain when we do this as well. So clinging to pleasure or avoiding pain is one thing that we do, one of the forms of suffering, Kleshas. And so we want to see things as they truly are, to be really aware of what's happening in our body right now without any judgment, just awareness. And then take your right arm out to the side, bring your right arm through, rest your right shoulder, right side of your head on the ground, and begin to breathe. So as you experience this posture, notice what's happening now. What's happening in your body and with your breath. Where's your mind at? Your emotions. And what sort of ego attachments do you have here about how this posture should be, or who you are and who you should be able to be in this posture? And then come back center. Take a deep breath in. And let it fall out of your mouth. Let's go over to the other side. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, take your left arm underneath your right arm. Rest your shoulder inside of the head on the ground. And continue to tune into your breathing here. And notice your aversion towards pain. So for example, this feels really tight in my left shoulder this morning, and so there's a natural aversion there. I don't want it to be that tight. I identify myself as somebody who is flexible, and I call myself a yoga teacher, and so I have all these expectations of myself as a result. But if I can bring the pure light of awareness to this pose, then I can just be present with what's happening now without having any need to change it or fix it or make it better in some way, clinging to pleasure. Great, and then come on back center. I'm just going to take my socks off here because we're going to be coming to standing shortly and you won't need socks. Okay, let's do pigeon pose. Slide your left knee forward towards your left wrist. Bring your left heel over towards your right hip bone and slide your right leg back. Okay, we're going to prepare our hips for some of the standing postures that we'll be doing later. And then fold forward over your left leg. So this is sure a posture where I experience aversion to pain. And of course here we're not talking about electric or sharp shooting pain. These are really important messages from our bodies that we need to listen to and change our posture in some way to support us better. So sharp shooting pain and electric pain is a too hard edge and you need to back off. But that kind of dull, achy feeling like, there's something happening in your muscle, that's okay. So there's a natural aversion towards suffering that we experience in hip opening postures like this. Okay, and then take your hands by your front left knee to lift yourself upright. And you're going to take your right leg all the way around so that it crosses all the way over your left leg so that you're experiencing cow's face legs. So from here, this pose is not really accessible for a lot of people. It requires a lot of openness in your hips. So if your knee's way up here and this looks really distorted, you can always sit up on a block. Can really help here. Okay? See how much more your legs are able to open. Okay. So now you get to experience that aversion to suffering here. That avoiding unpleasurable sensations here. Lift up through your spine. Inhale. Exhale. Keep your sit bones rooted at the back. Spine long. Draw your navel towards your legs and your heart past your knee. Okay, come back up to standing, sitting upright, and you're going to stand on your feet and turn all the way around. So what will end up happening is that your left leg will be on the top. So don't overthink this. And that's the cause of a lot of suffering. That first one, that avidya, where we overthink things. So just go and be in the moment. You're going to stand on your feet and you're going to turn all the way around. And then your left leg will be on top of your right leg. And if it's not, then you can just put it there. Okay, so lengthen up nice and tall through your spine here. Sink down through your sit bones. Fold your body forward in this pose. Getting those hips nice and open and prepared for some of the standing postures we'll be doing today. So as you experience this pose, bring your awareness to what's truly happening right now, not some kind of distorted perception of what's happening right now. Just notice what's happening in your body without judgment, without any kind of egoism, of feeling that kind of conceit for being able to do the pose well, or feeling that sense of doubt or insecurity for not being able to do the pose as well as you think you should. Okay, now you're going to take this left leg that's on top and you're going to swing it all the way around behind you so that your left leg is long behind you and your right knee is bent in front of you, and you'll fold forward over your right bent leg for pigeon here. Okay, and then come upright. Take your hands underneath your shoulders. Tuck your left toe under at the back. Step your right foot back into downward facing dog. And then step your feet in and make your way up to standing. Okay. In standing, we're going to do Swami Shivananda Radha's Divine Light Invocation, because this concept of avidya is this idea that we're in darkness and then we forget that we're pure light. So this Divine Light Invocation can help us remember. Okay, so you're going to inhale, take your arms straight overhead, and if it's safe for you to do, you're going to suspend your breath and silently repeat to yourself, I am created by divine light, I am sustained by divine light, I am protected by divine light, I am surrounded by divine light, and I am growing into divine light. Now exhale, lower your arms down. And keep your eyes closed as you imagine yourself standing in a shower of brilliant white light. See the light pouring down upon you, flowing into your body through the top of your head, filling your entire being. Now, without raising your arms, keeping them at your side of your body, Breathe in again. Hold your breath again. And silently repeat this mantra. I am created by divine light. I am sustained by divine light. I am protected by divine light. I am surrounded by divine light. I am ever growing into divine light. Slowly exhale and relax. And with your arms by the side of your body, concentrate on feeling a warm glow of light. Feeling your entire body, outside as well as inside. And acknowledge to yourself, every cell of this my physical body is filled with divine light. Every level of consciousness is illumined with divine light. Divine light permeates every single cell of my being and every level of my consciousness. I have become a channel of pure light. I am one with the light. And now you can turn your palms outward and offer divine light. You can choose a person, you can choose a place, you can choose an animal, you can choose to send light to the world, and just keep your eyes closed and imagine sending that light outward. And take a deep breath in and let it fall out of your mouth. So that is a beautiful practice that you can use at any time to remember the pure light of awareness that is your true nature. Okay, we're also going to practice sun salutations today as a way of practicing tapas. So a lot of times our yoga practice is tapas. It's where we're creating heat in our body to burn away impurities, and we do this so that we can have this awareness of our true light, and we're not clouded by all this false perception of things. So stand towards the front of your mat. Inhale, take a deep breath in. Reach up, open your heart. Exhale, bend your knees and flat spine to come forward. Inhale. I love how my teacher Ninka teaches this by leading with the divine feminine, left leg back first. Take your right leg back. Exhale, elbows in tight, lower down slowly. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, come into downward facing dog. Inhale, walk your left leg in. Exhale, walk your right leg in. Inhale, flat back to come up. And exhale, hands to your heart. Take a deep breath in and breathe it out. Let's do it at the other side. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, bend your knees, flat back, hinge at your hips. Inhale, step back with your right foot, divine masculine. Step your left foot back. Option to lower your knees as you exhale and lower down. Elbows back. Inhale, tuck your tail under. Lift your chest. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, right foot in. Exhale, left foot in. Inhale, flat back, come up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Take a deep breath in and breathe it out. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, flat back to come forward. Option to bend your knees. Inhale, step your left foot back. Exhale, right foot back. Lower down. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, walk your left foot in. Exhale, walk your right foot in. Inhale, flat back to come up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Feel the heat being created in your body, burning away all those impurities. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, flat back hinge. Inhale, right foot back. Step your left foot back. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, walk your right foot in. Exhale, walk your left foot in. Inhale, flat back to come up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Take a breath in and breathe out. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, flat back hinge. Inhale, left foot back. Right foot steps back. Exhale, lower. Inhale, tuck your tail under, lift your chest. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, left foot in. Exhale, right foot in. Inhale, flat back to come up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Deep breath in. Exhale, hinge forward. Inhale, right foot back. Step your left foot back. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, reach your right foot in. Exhale, left foot in. Inhale, flat back to come up. And exhale, hands to your heart. Breathing in and breathing out. So just notice the heat being created in your body. And I'm just thinking about how for the last few weeks, the kind of cause of my suffering is wanting things to be different than they are. So this kind of suffering, you know, I've been thinking about how I've been wanting my yoga practice to be more active, that it's spring and that it should be more active now because it's that time of year where I should have this renewed energy and stuff. And here we've been experiencing this really long winter and it just hadn't been happening. And I just realized this morning that as we did our practice today, that it is actually picking up again, and that I didn't, I felt like I was going to have to be in child's pose forever, but that it is shifting and changing, and things do continue to shift and change. Okay, we're going to do triangle pose. Let me tell you why we're going to do triangle pose. So you all probably have a pose that's like your nemesis, and that is a cause of a lot of suffering for you. So for me, triangle pose has been one of those poses. It's like I have all these beliefs about myself that, I'm a yoga teacher. I've practiced yoga for years. Triangle should look different in my body. It should be easier for me. Blah, 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 blah. All these causes of suffering. And so I wanted to practice these poses as a way to really just check in and tune in with our pure light of inner awareness, and to be aware of things as they're happening right now, and to be aware of the causes of suffering. So stand at the front of your mat. If you have a block, you may need a block. And you're going to take a generous step back with your right foot. Turn your hips so they face the long edge of your mat, and bring your arms up parallel to the ground. Now shift your right hip back and your torso forward, and then you're going to tip, and wherever your hand is under your shoulder, you're going to move your block to there, and then you're going to look up at your right hand. Okay, so for me, this pose I avoided it for a long time because it was the cause of suffering. I was avoiding the pain and all the sort of ideas I had about how it should be, and it wasn't. And so the last couple of weeks I've been playing with it again, and that kind of past suffering wasn't there as prominently as I remembered it. So it's just an example of how much we can limit ourselves based on the kind of suffering that we experience. Okay, and come forward and stand up. Turn your toes so they're both facing that long edge of your mat where your hips were facing. Turn your right toe out to the other short end of your mat. Place your block down in front of you. Bring your arms up. Exhale, bring your left hip back. Slide your spine forward and tip. Look up at your left hand. So notice what's happening in your body. Notice any aversion or clinging to pleasure. Notice any ego identification with kind of this feeling of either not feeling good enough or feeling like you really accomplished something. And see if your awareness can rest on how things truly are right now in this moment. Okay, and then come up to standing. All right, so bring your feet in. The second pose that I've chosen for today, standing posture, is Ardha Chandrasana, the balancing Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose. I chose this pose because I love this pose. So it's a pose where I seek out pleasure, definitely. And so it's also a pose where there's this kind of ego identification attached to this kind of attachment to how I perform this posture. It's one that I've forgotten to do for a while, so it's one that I wanted to do again as well for that reason. So just notice what kind of things are going on for you, all these kind of forms of suffering that can bubble up for you as you experience this posture. Okay, so stand towards the front of your mat. And having a block close by is really quite useful. You can place it by your left foot. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, and you're going to fold forward over your legs. Bend your knees as much as you need to make that comfortable for you. See how much it's not just comfort, it's that kind of clinging to pleasure, but it's also safety in your body. Okay? So bend your knees. You can place your hand on your left block. You're going to take your right leg up behind you and open up through your right hip. Okay, keep your eyes on the ground and then bring your right arm up as well. So there, right? There's that whole, there comes an ego. It's like, I can't fall. We're recording an episode right now, right? That's not the way I should be on this episode. But that's life, right? Things are always changing. You come in and out of balance. And that's why we practice our yoga, so that we have these skills to bring with us into our lives. Okay, shall we try the other side? I'm going to just turn around so I'm still facing the camera. You can stay where you were. So come into that forward fold. And then, of course, when you do two-sided postures, one side's going to be very different from the other. And this is where that cause of suffering, that wanting things to be different than they are, that clinging to pleasure, that aversion to pain really shows up, because we look at one side as the ideal and the other side is like, well, that's less than, not good enough, right? So there's all those levels of suffering that happen when we move from side to side in a posture. And we can remove all that suffering by just bringing our awareness and our curiosity to what's happening in a posture, rather than bringing all those kind of filters of how things should be. Okay, so come into standing forward fold. Take your left leg straight up behind you. Oh, look at that. I have the support of the wall here for me on this side. And then you're going to open your left arm up. So you can use support quite nicely in this pose. Your foot on the wall or your whole back on the wall is really nice too. Great. And then you can release this posture from your body. Okay, let's see. I want to come down onto all fours for our inversion today. So come onto all fours. Okay, here we're going to do Yoga Mudra posture, because Yoga Mudra is a pose of surrender, and it's a pose where we face our own vulnerability. And in order to bring acceptance to things as they are, I think that we really do have to practice surrender. And actually, to overcome the fifth klesha, the fear of death, it's a surrendering as well. So there's two ways to come into this posture. I'm going to show you two ways, and you can choose the way that you like the best. This posture, you rest on the crown of your head, which can be quite tender for a lot of people. That's where the vulnerability part comes in. So do feel free to fold up a blanket so there's a little softness. Don't let it be too thick, but just fold it up so that it's a little softer, not just a hard ground. And then you're going to place the crown of your head on the ground between your two hands. And if you have any neck injuries, just be cautious. Check in and see if this is really a good posture for you. Take your fingers and interlace them behind your back. Roll your shoulders back and up, and then lift your arms. So this is Yoga Mudra. And you can see that it's a pose of surrender because we symbolically place our head, the thing that gives us all this trouble, below our hearts. Okay, so the other way to come into this, check out what feels best in your own body, is to come into child's pose and rest your head on the ground, interlace your fingers and roll onto the top of your head. You can see, for me, I just don't feel like there's enough space between my head and my knees, so that's why I like the other version better in my own body. But check in your own body. What we're really looking for here is that the back of your neck is straight. So if you're here, your neck is not straight, or if you're here, they're overextended in both situations. So choose a position to the best of your ability where the back of your neck is straight. Okay, and then to release your arms, place them on either side of your head, press into your hands to lift your head up off the ground. Whew. And come up to sitting. All right. After this, actually first, let's just do a little bit of neck stretching first. So ear to shoulder. And ear to other shoulder. And roll your head around in front. Okay. So sit in easy pose, cross-legged. Lengthen your spine up nice and tall. And take your right hand to the outside of your left knee. Turn your body to the left and look back over your left shoulder. Okay. And so this is symbolic of looking back. So as you look back to your past, look at all the pleasures that you cling to and still are with you. Possibly something that's still happening. also reflect back on all the things that cause you suffering that you try to avoid. Maybe it's time to let go of some of those attachments to pleasure and aversion to pain. And then come into the center. Deep breath in. And let it go. And close your eyes and focus on the present moment. See things as they truly are. Experience your body in this posture without judgment, without attachment to performing this posture well or to feeling any kind of self-doubt in the present moment. And then take your left hand to the outside of your right knee. Take your right hand to the base of your spine and turn towards your right, symbolically looking towards your future. And from that place of awareness of your true inner light, look to the future for the possibility of letting go of some of the forms of suffering, that ignorance of your true nature, that attachment to your ego identification, the possibility of letting go of that striving for pleasure and aversion to pain. What's the possibility in the future? And come back center. Great. Okay, so I want to make sure we have time to do a mudra and Savasana today. And people also ask me what mudra book I recommend, and I recommend Gertrude Hershey's book called Mudras, Yoga in Your Hands. In my opinion, this is the best book on mudras out there. Gertrude Hershey is really invested and an authentic practitioner of mudras, so I highly recommend her work. So when I was choosing what mudra I would like to do for today's practice, the book fell open to the Matangi mudra, which is Matangi is the god of inner harmony. And so that is the practice that we're going to do. It's also a practice for your third chakra, which I think speaks to this idea of the light, of coming into the light and lifting that veil, that darkness of ignorance. So here's the mudra. You're going to take your hands, interlace your fingers, and keep your middle fingers extended. And then bring that to rest at around your solar plexus level. And breathe long and slow and deep. You're supposed to hold this mudra for 4 minutes. Can you time us for 4 minutes? Great. Okay, and then slowly release your hands and open your eyes to a soft gaze. Make your way down onto your back for Savasana. So Savasana will leave you to practice on your own, but it's a very important practice in this practice where we're looking at Kleshas, the causes of suffering. It's a pose where we practice death. We practice the endings of things. It doesn't have to be the big final death, but we practice things coming to an end and of letting go and surrendering to that process. And so Savasana is perhaps the most important pose that we practice in yoga. So do rest back in Savasana for 5 or 10 minutes. And thank you so much for joining us for episode 75 of Namaste Yoga. Please continue to send in your stories about how Namaste Yoga is affecting you in your life. I so enjoy hearing from you. Thank you. Namaste.